Hey everybody! Today we're gonna talk about the Boys season 5 finale, or just the final season. We're not just talking about the finale episode, although we will probably spend a decent amount of time ranting about the finale. Oh man, you know, I said in my Gen V season 2 review, I was talking about this in my Gen V season 2 review, that I felt like the writing had really fallen off, had like fell off in the second season, but I was like giving it the benefit of the doubt. You know, the one of the actors in it died and they had to rewrite a lot of the script. Like there was a lot of sort of extenuating factors that I'm like, okay, maybe the show isn't just stuck. Like boys final season better not have these same problems. You know, that shouldn't have these same problems. There's not the same hangups. Unfortunately, what we're here to talk about today is that the boys absolutely has a lot of the same issues going on. Let's get into it. So, boys season 5. We open with a solid first episode. You know, they're after the season 4 finale had these big, like, okay, game changing events happen. Homelander has fully taken over America. Uh the boys, half of the group is stuck in internment camps. Things are bad. Things are bad. And so episode 1 is like, okay, how do we get our squad out of these internment camps? And it's setting up to, like, it's essentially this domino opening the season. First off, opening the season, first scene of the season, Homelander's giving a speech, opening the season with the reveal of, by the way, there will be spoilers in this, so I can talk about thoroughly how the boys went downhill. How the 5th season failed us, basically. Verdict pre spoilers, not a good season. Not a good season. Not the worst season of TV I've ever seen, but not a good season. Uh Opening the season though on the Homelander plane flight video just being dropped and it immediately getting like chalked up as AI and essentially not really, like, it didn't really move the needle, but it pisses Homelander off enough to be like, I need to kill the members of the boys that I have in these camps so I can lure out Butcher and Starlight and Kimiko. The rest of the boy, Butcher mainly. He doesn't really care about the others. Uh, and so then that sets us up for a great conflict in the internment camp, which honestly ended up kind of being the highest budget, like, fight sequence of the season. We got an A-Train Quicksilver running moment. We got all the characters there, like, fighting each other. I mean, all the important characters, right? And, like, you know, a real sense of, like, stakes. I'm like, somebody's gonna die this episode, and somebody did. A-Train's sacrifice was a great moment. I love that he fails to outrun Homelander because he's dodging, because he's making sure he didn't make the same mistake that he made with Robin at the very beginning of season 1. It's a real full circle moment for A-Train. Maybe it's something that should have happened last season, but it works well enough here. Strong start of the season. Then we get to episode 2. The virus plotline is picking up. There's some interesting things happening with it. Soldier Boy has been reintroduced. His dynamic with Homelander is really interesting. Fun episode. There's some signs of weirdness, like Kamiko talking in TikTok. Kamiko talking like a sex-obsessed TikToker is weird, and the bit gets old by the end of the first episode and then keeps going. But overall, still, you know, solid. We're moving solid. Episode 3, what even fucking happens? This is where things really start to slow down. Episode 3, Soldier Boy got hit by the virus and survived. So now we established that people with V1, the original version of Compound V, are immune to the virus. And now, in establishing that V1 exists, Homelander now has a new objective for the season. Get V1. I must have V1 because V1 is what makes soups like Soldier Boy and Stormfront immortal in theory, unless they, you know, like not aging. which has been established to be something Homelander is insecure about, is the concept of aging. And essentially, he believes that if he can get the V1 and become immortal, he will rightfully become God. And the God Homelander storyline, the Homelander believes he's God storyline, is one of the highlights of this season. It's just more fun, like, political commentary, satire, ridiculousness, like, and I don't think it cheapens the, like, it feels like the last place you can really take Homelander. It's not just devolving him into a Trump allegory. Honestly, the only reason it feels like, I think they did a good job with establishing, like, a fascist America under Homelander, and, like, what that looks like, what he's doing, how his authority is, like, scary to everyone now, and how the world deals with that. And weirdly predicting like certain things about, like, the whole Homelander God storyline started like the same week that Trump posted an AI image of himself as Jesus. So it's just like, yeah, this is a good, this is more political. It's more overtly political commentary than they even intended it to be, because now it's in it, which, you know, does have the effect of kind of making it like, okay, Homelander Trump allegory, like, we're leaning into that full send. But honestly, not really. Because again, a lot of the stuff that makes it feel like an obvious Trump allegory is stuff they could not have predicted how obvious it would be. They wrote this season before the election. But anyway, Homelander starts becoming interested in being God. The boys go to meet with Stan Edgar to try and find the V1 themselves, because they now have two objectives. They're trying to make the virus and disseminate it, and they're also trying to find V1 so they can stop Homelander from getting it and maybe give V1 to Starlight, Kimiko, Butcher. And there's conflict in the group over, are we going to use the virus to kill all the Supes? Are we going to use the V1 to help our Supes, or are we going to just destroy the V1? Like, there's a conflict over that that's interesting. Episode 4 really leans into that conflict because they go to a place to look for V1, like an abandoned facility, and essentially an abandoned lab, and essentially there's a Supe there that's, like, got these crazy vine powers that are, like, enveloping the environment and making everyone angry with each other, so all the boys are, like, fighting each other, and then Homelander and Soldier Boy show up, and they're fighting with each other, too. So it's fun. It's good. It's, like, episode 4 is good, and it does that, and it teases some stuff with Soldier Boy, and Soldier Boy's familiarity with the Supe that is doing the Vine stuff. Like, they're, like, old friends, or old... I don't really know what their dynamic... Their dynamic will appear in Vought Rising, the spin-off prequel show, which is a little bit of, like... Which is, like, I don't care who you send. I'm not watching Vought Rising. I think I said this in the Gen V Season 2 review. I'm not watching any more spin-off shows. I'm not watching it. After this season, I'm done with the Boys universe. And, yeah, that is still true. But I didn't mind it in episode 4. I was like, okay, this, like, yeah, this is obviously doing some kind of Vought Rising seeding, but it's also, like, interesting character development for Soldier Boy, and I like the character of Soldier Boy. Like, I like that after Soldier Boy kills the Vine guy, Homelander shows up and he's mad at him because Soldier Boy locked him in the, like, uranium radiation room, and Soldier Boy's, like, genuinely upset, and he's like, just kill me. Just kill me, Homelander. Like, this is like, interesting, good character stuff happening here. Episode 5 is probably my favorite, like, best episode of the show since, like, season 3, at least. Might be a top 10 episode of the show. It's really, really good. It's these character-focused vignettes. First, you're following Firecracker, then you're following Black Noir, I think. They give you a little bit of time with the boys, but you're technically following Terror, the dog, which leads to some funny gags. It's just it's a really solid, like, doing these character-focused vignettes meant they actually got to, like, it reminded me of how good the character writing on The Boys used to be. And it got me excited because I'm like, okay, there's 3 episodes left. You just spent all of episode 5 setting where every character is. Now we know what Sister Sage wants. We know what the Deep wants. Black Noir, Firecracker. I mean, Firecracker dies at the end of the episode, but her arc is genuine. Like, they took her from being a not that interesting character to being a really tragic one. And like the news scene where she's having to like talk about how they jailed her childhood preacher and like imply that he's a pedophile, and she's like reading the teleprompter and like holding back tears, and like making you watch her make the wrong choice, and it's genuinely really tragic and like sad. That really, really good stuff. Really good episode. Great episode. You get a fun Soldier Boy Homelander subplot too, where they're continuing to look for the V1, and that's where the supernatural actors are in this episode. Leads to some of the funnier. There's also a bunch of cameos of like Seth Rogen and Will Forte and like a couple other actors playing themselves. It's a fun episode. The episode has pretty much everything I could want except major plot development. Like the plot really doesn't move forward because with episode 5, we've now spent 3 episodes sitting on the status quo of the boys have the virus, Homelander needs the V1, the boys are trying to find the V1 before Homelander can find the V1 so that they can either destroy the V1 or use it to help their team survive the virus. That is what's going on. And 3 episodes now are sitting on that. That's fine. There's 3 episodes left. Surely they will wrap this up in a satisfying manner. Episode 6. I don't even remember what happens in a lot of episode 6, which should tell you something. More Vought Rising shit. Because Bombsight has the V1, and Bombsight is a character that you can see more of in Vought Rising, coming out next year? I don't know. So they're finding this other soup from back then because she doesn't have the V1, but she was Bombsight's lover, and Bombsight wanted to give her the V1, but she rejected it, and there's this whole plot. They're trying to find Bombsight. Sister Sage defects in this episode, starts helping them. Basically, long story short, they find Bombsight. Sister Sage stupidly calls in Soldier Boy to help take down Bombsight, and Soldier Boy, of course, takes down Bombsight and gives Homelander the V1. Because why wouldn't he? Because Sister Sage's entire plan, smartest person in the world, mind you, that's her superpower. Her entire plan is just turning Soldier Boy and Homelander against each other because she doesn't know how else to stop Homelander from getting the V1 because she's actually a moron. Because she's actually just a moron. There's an entire subplot between episodes 5 and 6 where she has Ashley use her Ashley has this like malignant tumor in the back of her head that can read minds. It's a funny V subplot. She has Tumor Ashley read Soldier Boy's mind at great risk to Ashley. Ashley doesn't want to do it. The tumor wants to do it. It's a whole thing. She doesn't really get any information out of it, just that Soldier Boy has a weird sort of like fatherly not respect for Homelander, but like he cares about him. Then the end of this episode, Soldier Boy gives Homelander the V1, not even particularly because he cares, like he tells him, he's like, I don't want you to have the V1, but it's what Clara would have wanted, which is the slander quote that's been swarming the internet. It's what Clara would have wanted. Clara, by the way, is the name of Stormfront from season 2, aka Liberty, Frederick Vaught's wife, the Nazi from the past. So basically, she is also the secondary lead of, you guessed it, Vought Rising! Vought Rising! So basically, Soldier Boy, they took, in season 3, it was implied that Soldier Boy had hooked up with Stormfront a couple times. Like, they found a Herogasm together or something. This season turns that into a full, and no, actually, Soldier Boy was in love with Clara. And he gives Homelander the V1 because it's what Clara would have wanted. Clara would have wanted Homelander to become the ultimate immortal soup. Because she would have, but why does Soldier Boy give that much of a shit about that? So Homelander gets the V1. Lasers coming out of his eyes. It's what Clara would have wanted. But whatever. It's, there's some shake. I'm getting annoyed. I'm getting a little annoyed by the Vought Rising setup, but it's fine. We've made it. It's gonna be hard, but we can do the whole V1 storyline in 2 episodes. We've got time. We've got time to do a Takedown Homelander. Maybe we won't have time for a Butcher Turncoat arc that was kind of implied by the previous season's finale where he killed Newman, but it's fine. It's fine. We have 2 episodes. This is where it's going to pick up, right? This episode ends with Homelander lasers in the sky, V1 injecting, screaming. Butcher says, "Run." Ooh, next episode's going to be exciting. The next episode's called The Frenchman, the Female, and the Man Called Mother's Milk. That's 3 boys that are probably going to die in the next episode. Things are going to happen. What do we get in the next episode? Episode 7. Episode 7. Homelander, now powered up with the V1, kills the president. All right, they really don't make a big deal out of it. In fact, we never even see the explanation to the world as to why he killed the president. The boys all escaped off screen. They're fine. Off D-screen, they ran away, like Butcher told them to. Homelander didn't go try to chase them down or anything. He just went back to Vought Tower. Soldier Boy wants to leave. He's sick of Homelander's shit. Homelander chokes him out and puts him back in cryo freeze. Okay, so I guess we've now written Soldier Boy back out of the plot after writing him into it, which makes it feel like his only existence to be here was to set up Vought Rising. Okay. What are the boys going to do now? They've failed to get the V1. The virus plan is kaput. I don't even know if they mentioned the virus this episode. The thing we've been doing for the last 6 episodes is now irrelevant. We need a new plan to kill Homelander. Let's give Kimiko Soldier Boy powers so she can sap the V1 from Homelander. We're not going to try to trick Soldier Boy into doing that because that would be too interesting. No, we've got to experiment on Kimiko and give her Deus Ex Machina powers. But while we're doing that, we need to figure out what O-Father is up to. We need to know what O-Father is up to. And I haven't mentioned O-Father yet. O-Father is a televangelist preacher soup, and his power is literally like sort of mind in like his voice has this he's a really clever character that I wish they'd introduced way earlier. His power, really good melding of power set and characterization that again, reminds me of earlier seasons of the show where they really thought about this stuff. His power is like his booming voice sort of fucks with people's heads, makes them a little more susceptible to like religious type influence, It's kind of almost like a drug that like it's kind of drugging the audience. And at one point, like Homelander's whole I'm God thing is spurred by being in the audience for one of O-Father's sermons and then getting a vision of Madam Stillwell as an angel from the first season, being like, "You are God, suck on my titties." It's funny. It's a funny scene, and it sets up the arc well. And it's almost implied that that's actually just a drug trip from O-Father's powers. O-Father is this interesting character because at this point in the season, he's basically become Homelander's right-hand man. Because the Deep is still there, but like nobody gives a fuck about the Deep. So O-Father is the one in charge of spearheading Homelander being God. And they do they set every scene with him is really, really interesting. He basically explains to Starlight in episode 6, I believe, that like since being a child, he has been sort of hoisted into this position of religious figure because his power is literally the religious sermon power. That combined with Compound V not being public knowledge leads people to believe he's like kind of this God. It's his God-given birthright to be a preacher. But see, God, he doesn't feel like God has answered his prayers. He's been praying for people since he was young. God doesn't answer his prayers. Homelander is a God that we can see, so we should follow him. Like, that's a really compelling character dynamic. Of course, it's not really fully explored, but Daveed Diggs, who plays him, does his best giving that the depth it's owed in what little time is spent on it. Like, episode 7 here, O-Father he's gathered a bunch of psychics, and he's having Homelander's biggest followers come in and watch this video about Jesus passing the torch on to Homelander, because Homelander is very insistent. He's not like, no, I'm the second. He's like, no, I'm not the second coming of God. I'm not Jesus reborn. I am God. I'm surpassing him. I'm replacing your Christian God. And even amongst Homelander's most diehard supporters, there's not a lot of them that truly believe this in their hearts, and they get all these psychics to read their minds and see whether they truly believe this in their hearts. Homelander wants anyone who doesn't killed, and you see that Father is conflicted about this, but he ultimately decides to go through with it. That's really compelling. This is really compelling stuff that should have happened not in the penultimate episode. Let I remind you, we are on episode 7 of 8, and we don't even really know how they're going to take down Homelander now. Soldier Boy is being written, like, we haven't had, we just, this is not stuff that should be happening in episode 7. They go in, the boys are investigating this, Butcher and Huey get caught by the psychics, they're being questioned by them, one of the psychics transforms into Kessler from season 4, and, like, tells Huey how Butcher left his crew to die in Afghanistan or something, I don't remember. Good stuff, but not for the second to last episode of the show. Meanwhile, Starlight and MM are saving the people from the psychics, and in doing so, they have to fight She-Line and Dognaught. Remember She-Line from episode 2, the member of the Teen Kicks, the teenage cat girl, and Dognaught, the guy with a dog-sniffing nose who was in episode 3 fighting them? Yeah, they're back, and we're not fighting Homelander in the penultimate episode. We're not even fighting Father. We're fighting She-Line and Dognaught, who, by the way, have a minute-long pet play scene in the middle of this episode. Because it's the boys, and we need weird fucking sex humor that we don't have time for in the second to last episode of the show. Bravo, Kripke! Bravo, Kripke! This episode was the one that pissed me off the most. Again, the stuff with Father is all really good. This episode opens, or is it episode 8 that opens with the... No, it's this episode that opens with the Father Raise Him Up parody gospel song where he's singing about how, like, he turned water into wine, what a useless superpower. A real god should make them cower. Like, it's just a whole, like, blatantly blasphemous song, and there's these, like, women dressed up as, like, stripper angels that he's dancing with. The Boys has still got the, like, parody comedy aspects here. And episode 5 showed they do still know how to write good characters. It's just, like... And this is a problem that I've had with several superhero shows lately, actually. Gen V had it. Peacemaker Season 2, as good as that season was comparatively, did also suffer from this, where you've got an 8-episode season of TV. Your first few episodes are like these big, exciting episodes, and then you just twiddle your thumbs, dawdling and padding out the plot throughout all the middle episodes. Sometimes, like in the case of this season of The Boys, some of those middle episodes were honestly some of my favorite. Like, episodes 4 and 5 I really liked in a vacuum. But what they contribute to as an overall season is a bunch of padding in the middle, and then a bunch of rushing in the last couple episodes to make any of it matter. And this season is more guilty of that than either of those previous 2 shows I mentioned, because episode 8 was fine. It was not as bad as I expected it to be, but after episode 7, I'd fully given up on any hope that the finale would be good. Because what do you mean we get to the end of episode 7, you spent the whole penultimate episode fighting She-Line and Dognaught, you barely have a plan to take down Homelander, he's more powerful than ever, and somehow you're going to wrap this all up in an episode? And I mean, they did. It's a serviceable room fight. We certainly didn't see Homelander go scorched earth, which I don't care about as much as I think some fans do. I don't really... They were just never... It was clear from how this season was playing out that they didn't want to do that. For whatever reason, I don't know why Amazon would do this, but the budget is clearly way scaled back compared to, like, seasons 2, 3. I'd say 1. It's probably comparable to season 1, but that was the first season. You know, this is their Amazon's biggest show. Surely you'd want it to go out on a big climactic note. Nah, not really. We're gonna do a in-a-room fight between Homelander, Butcher, Ryan will show up and help, Kamiko will blast him. You'll get this really corny-ass scene where dead French... Oh yeah, forgot to mention, Frenchie dies at the end of episode 7. That was the only part of the episode that actually felt like it was worthy of being in the penultimate episode of the entire show. Everything else before that just was like more episodic kind of stuff. But anyway, episode 8, you get the fight. You get the Deep dying finally. The Deep's storyline is pretty good this season. They use him as a like, they just make him an alpha male. They do set up this whole conflict between him and Black Noir that is kind of pointless. He just ends up killing the second Black Noir, and it's like, why did we spend so much time on this? But he does also, in the process of that conflict, the Deep sort of unintentionally, the Black Noir does it, but the Deep sort of causes it. A fish genocide. A bunch of, like, poisons are spilled in the ocean, so now none of the fish want anything to do with the Deep. So they tell him, okay, if you step into the water, you're getting killed. And here's a perfect example of this show's lazy writing. So in episode 7, the Deep is on a dock, at a lake, at a beach, something. It's not really super clear. It's stormy, it's overcast, there's no one around. He's talking to this shark voiced by Samuel L. Jackson, because why spend the budget on a fight scene when we could get Samuel L. Jackson to voice a shark? The shark tells him, hey, you're not allowed in the ocean anymore. We'll fucking kill you if you come in the ocean. And the Deep's really upset about this. He doesn't know what to do. Next scene with the Deep. Same location. Suddenly we zoom out. It's not stormy anymore. This dock he was on is actually on a very crowded public beach, and there's people telling him, and someone's drowning out in the water, Deep. There's a bunch of people around, and they're looking at you, Deep, and they're asking you, why aren't you going out there and rescuing him? The Deep is a fraud. He's been exposed as a fraud. That's a good, like, point for him. But it doesn't land, at least it didn't land for me, because what I'm asking myself is, wow, that's awful convenient. Suddenly this seemingly empty location the Deep was having this scene in is now a crowded beach, and there's someone drowning. It's just very, like, we need to get from here to here to here to here to here, plotting. And a lot of the later seasons of The Boys, and that's like textbook bad TV writing, I feel like, is when it stops. Things don't happen naturally. And this season, even in a lot of the best episodes, I'd say episode 5, with its character-focused vignettes, is the only episode of the season where it feels like things are really happening naturally. And that's because it's this very character-focused episode where there aren't really a lot of things happening. Not a lot of big-scale things. But by this point, episode 7 was the worst one of the season. Episode 8 was like a serviceable finale. It was satisfying seeing Homelander get his shit rocked. It was satisfying seeing him get depowered and beg for mercy from Butcher. Like, and I love that, like, all of that was on TV. Like he's doing this talk in the Oval Office about how he's God, and he's on camera, and then Butcher shows up, the cameramen run away, the camera gets knocked over, and the world sees the entire fight. They see Homelander get depowered, they see him beg, all in the same speech that started with, I am God, don't test me. And, like, that's a satisfying resolution to that. I was like, okay, cool. All right, now we're into epilogue stuff. I remember looking at the time, there's 29 minutes left. We're doing epilogue scenes. I don't know how there's still that much episode left of epilogue scenes, but yeah, maybe we'll show what Soldier Boy's been up to or something. I don't know. Except no, because they said ahead of time Soldier Boy wasn't going to be in the final episode. Okay, whatever. Good enough. And then, in the last 25 minutes of the fucking show, what if we did the evil turncoat Butcher storyline now? With no setup. What if Terror the dog dies, and that was the only thing tethering home Butcher to being what if Terror the dog dies and Ryan says he doesn't want Butcher to be his dad? Ryan, who has appeared in 2 episodes of this season, by the way. There was a whole plot with him in episode 3, then they just didn't touch him until the last episode, and it's like, okay, this character, they could be doing a lot more with this character, or they could have just killed him off in episode 3, but whatever, man. Anyway, Homelander decides, Ryan doesn't love me, Terror's dead, I gotta release the virus to kill all the Supes. We need to eliminate all Supes. I'm gonna go to Vought Tower and I'm gonna release the virus. Huey's gonna have to come talk me down. Huey's gonna have to kill me. Then I have my dramatic death scene and my funeral scene, the second one of the episode. First one being Frenchie. Yeah. Also the Gen V characters show up because they boxed themselves into a corner of, like, Gen V Season 2 spends a bunch of time being like, the Gen V characters are important, Marie Moreau can kill Homelander. They do nothing. They basically get told to fuck off. They take in episode 7, they get told to fuck off, and then in episode 8, they get told to take all the people who are going to be killed by the psychics in episode 7 for not believing that Homelander's God, they get told to take them to Canada where they'll be safe, and then they're written off. Cool. I'm glad that they bought. I'm like, why did they didn't need to be included at all? But Gen V boxed the writers of this universe stupidly boxed themselves into a corner by making the Gen V characters, they're joining the resistance at the end of season 2. Whatever. Sister Sage gets made stupid to test Kamiko's power. Why am I even who gives a shit? These are minor plot details of this. Sister Sage gets a sort of happy ending for herself, which she really doesn't deserve, considering how much she contributed to Homelander's fascist rise and the thousands that likely died as a result of that, if not millions. I don't know. The scale of his destruction is never really made clear. It's weirdly a good portrait of fascist America in a sense that society just kind of keeps ticking along as if nothing is wrong. But yeah, so we're doing with 25 minutes of, so the last episode now has both the Homelander's final fight and a Butcher turncoat final argument scene, which I think both of those could have been good if they had at least bare minimum one episode of time. If episode 6 ends and then episode 7 starts and it's actually run and Homelander's actually fucking mowing them down, or if he gets the V1 a little bit earlier in the season. I don't know. There's just a lot of ways this could have been written so they didn't have to squeeze the entire third act of the season story into one fucking episode. After wasting 2 episodes where they fight She-Line, and 2 episodes where they fight Dognot, bro. It's so peak. This shit sucks. It was a 5 out of 10 season. It was not. Maybe 4. Probably 4. Season 1's a 9 out of 10, though. They never hit that high again, and I didn't think they were going to, but I was hoping for at least something of season 3's quality. But it's funny, you have season 4, season 5, you wrap around to the season finale of season 5, and this plot to kill Homelander is, we need to take this soup that has a blast attack that can depower Homelander and use it to depower Homelander and then kill him. That was also what they were doing in season 3. We spent a whole 2 seasons of new characters and new plot lines and new things happening just to loop back around to what the fight at the end of season 3 was, but worse. So yeah, the show should have ended at season 3. And this spinoff should never have been made. And also, I don't care who you send, I'm not watching Vought Rising! That's the review. Don't watch it. Don't. If you dropped off of The Boys in season 2 or 3, like most of my friends did, don't bother. Don't bother. It's not worth it, bro. It's not worth it. Just watch Invincible instead. I haven't reviewed Invincible because when I watched the first season of Invincible, I watched it with Kirk, and I was really wanting a kind of The Boys-y show, and it just wasn't the right niche. The Omni-Man stuff was great. I thought everything else I wasn't into. With each season of Invincible, I love it more. With each season of The Boys, I love it less. And now Invincible is crazy. I could make reviews about that. I don't know. I want to make some more review videos. I want to make more videos for this main channel in general because the algorithm favors making more videos. If I make one a month, I really don't. It doesn't get it. The algorithm buries it. And I also just, I watch a lot of shit. Check my Letterboxd if you want to hear me talk about a lot more movies that I don't bother to review. I do have one. I saw Obsession, so I will be making a review of that very soon. But I just figured, let's get on here and talk about how shitty The Boys. This is the longest. This is 5 seasons of a show now I've talked about every season. I haven't done that with any other shows. I stopped talking about Stranger Things after season 3. I can't even think of... how many shows get 5 seasons these days? But yeah, it didn't need 5 seasons. Or, Like it just the quality just dropped after season 3. It didn't drop like the way people talk about Game of Thrones, where it's like, oh, this was the greatest show of all time, and now it's dog shit. It's like it just it it got more and more mediocre until it eventually became bad. And I guess it's good it ended now when it did, because it was only, you know, if it kept going past this season, it was only gonna get worse. Uh, are you excited for VOD Rising and The Boys Mexico and Gen V Season 3? Oh, wait, no, they canceled that? Because I sure am not. Uh, I'll just stick to watching good shows, bro. The Boys review series is over, and yeah, that the show went out with not with a bang, but with a whimper. Hopefully the next long-running show I talk about every season of, which will probably be One Piece live action. I can't think of any other shows I've actively made reviews of that feel like they're gonna go on for as long as The Boys has. Hopefully that show maintains its quality and doesn't go the way, or the Fallout show. Those are two shows I'm into right now. It's like, hopefully those shows maintain their quality and don't go the way of The Boys. Because, whew. Or Stranger Things, for that matter. I heard that final season sucked too. I didn't watch it. But anyway. Arrivederci!